Everyone, Alexander Gill here. Hope you're keeping well and you're being very mindful in this time. Obviously, isolation, it's more in your thoughts, in your head. But yeah, this week I wanted to really talk about what I've learned, and it's been a game changer, to be honest. I've been doing a lot of research learning on self-talk, and what I've discovered is that behavior is our actions, and actions are filtered through our feelings, which are created, controlled, determined, or influenced by our attitude. So, attitude is a perspective of how you view your life, which is controlled and created and influenced entirely by your beliefs. And now, our beliefs are about anything which will determine our attitude. Therefore, belief does not require something to be true, only requires us to believe it is true and is created directly entirely by our programming. So, if you go deeper from that, so we believe that we are programmed in a way which leads us to either successful self-management or not so successful. So the programming that in your brain creates beliefs, which then creates our attitude, which then creates feelings, which then creates actions, which then gets the results basically of our own destiny. So I would really love you to analyze and take audit of your thoughts or your self-talk of what you're saying to yourself, because you, at the end of the day, what the mind can conceive, it can believe, it can achieve. And we're all taught this from a young age, that you're probably told by your parents, as I was, you can be whatever you want to be, you can achieve anything, you can be, Elon Musk is now sending people out into space. Like, there's a lot of change going on, and I think that change is great at the end of the day, but as a human, we are quite resistant against it. Like back in 1492, Christopher Columbus set sail from Spain, and his whole not mantra but thought was to prove that the world wasn't flat. Some people still think the world is flat, and I'm sure there's a lot of evidence that we all think it is spherical. But yeah, he returned in 1493 with a different perspective. Now, we've done another talk on perspective, so feel free to check that out. But basically, with this perspective came change, because he had actually seen that the Earth was round, it wasn't flat. So in that, what I'm trying to say is that you have to work on your programming. So there's 5 stages of self-talk, and that's how you design your future for the best day and the best life that you can live. But the best time to start is now. So these levels of self-talk, I've done another talk on fixed mindset and growth mindset, so go check that out if you wanted to analyze that a bit deeper and see if there's any self-talk there. So the top level, I would say, is negative acceptance. So example of that is, I can't do that. I can't do that. I mean, I was blessed from a young age that my great gran actually taught me that can't means won't. So I've always had that mentality, but not everyone's been blessed with that. So think next time if there's anything you say and go, oh, I can't do that. That's actually fixed mindset. And so the second part of the self-talk, the levels of self-talk, are recognition and that you need to change. So I need to, or I should. So this is like, if you hear this, what you should do is stop and finish the sentence, and you can always turn it round. So, I should do that, and I look forward to doing this. Another way that I've really been working on is the whole acceptance of I get to go and do this, rather than seeing it as a chore, because at the end of the day, optimism is a choice. So the third level of self-talk, this is where it becomes a bit different. So the decision to change. So I never, or I no longer. So the subconscious will believe anything that you tell it. If you tell it long enough and strong enough, that's where it starts to really get deep, and you can play with the self-talk there. The fourth stage is I am. So this is the most effective kind. So just to say that you are and I am this. At first, you may feel a bit like, that imposter syndrome. You've probably read about that. This could be, I would say, just stick at it. There's definitely going to be times where you may feel some emotions, but ride that emotional wave. Then the last stage of the self-talk is universal affirmation. So in that sense that it is. So it just is. It is. And if you think of that as like a whole, then a place, it just is. So if you take all of these into consideration, and then break them down, you can actually some techniques to delve from these progressions and to work with are some tools. So I would definitely take note of some of these. So from silent self-talk, so what are you actually telling yourself upstairs? Like monitor that and see where did that thought come from. Then another layer to that is self-speak. So this is where acceptance comes from. So I did a talk on thoughts, so feel free to check that out and some techniques. But like just thanking the thought or acknowledging it, that's that self speaks, but actually verbalize outwards, because your thought can't beat a thought. Another one is self conversation. So that's the most activating part and the vitalizing kind. So where you actually, I read a story about a guy that was in a traumatic experience. So there's everything's going off and it can be going chaotic around you. But if you actually have a conversation with yourself, you can rationalize yourself and bring yourself down, that you're not living in that hyper arousic state. So that's definitely one. And you might think, hey, I'm a bit of a mad person here. I'm chatting to myself. It can really save you. It can really help you. So I'd advise definitely trying out that. Another one is self-write. So I do a gratitude journal in the morning, in the evening, journaling your thoughts. It can be a great tool. Another one is recording your self-talk, so where you're actually rewriting your neural pathways because you're listening back to it. So this can even be a deeper layer of affirmations and everything like that. The last part is whether you believe it or not. So it really goes into the overview of what I wanted to talk about, which is to monitor, to edit, and to listen. And so with these three layers of monitor, edit, and listen, you can create your own destiny because you define your own future. You're the master of your fate, captain of your soul. Time flies, but you're the pilot. So if you really take this in and take it to your heart, these are some of the things that I've been learning about self-talk, and I'm going to be adapting, analyzing, and really loving, because at the end of the day, your brain has no storage for motivation. And what I've realized from, I think I touched on it in an extreme ownership video, where it's discipline equals motivation. Therefore, you have to make it your identity. So maybe if you break that down, an example is the whole smoker to non-smoker. So if you're quitting smoking and you say, oh, like someone offers you a cigarette, you can say, oh sorry, I don't smoke. Whereas if you say that, oh sorry, I'm quitting smoking, then you're identifying that still. Whereas if you're no longer a smoker, then that's that identity. And this is done through the right self-talk. And so if you go back to those 5 layers of the negative acceptance, the recognition need to change, decision to change, self-talk, and then universal affirmation. It takes more than just wanting things to work out right, but doing the part is the growth. So when was the last time you got butterflies in your gut? Go out there and live in that growth zone, because that's you weren't just born for the fun of it. You were born to have purpose, to have impact. So go out there and do something that pushes you in that stretch zone, not necessarily the stress zone, but you can really grow. So just to really summarize, I wanted to read you out a chapter from this wicked book. So it's called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. A guy called Shad Helmet-Setter, PhD, blew my mind. Honestly, this is where a lot of this content has come from, because I just want to share with you, but I've really enjoyed all of the things that I've learned. He talks about neuroplasticity, which is basically rewiring your synapses in your brain. So he says that our brains have become wired with new information, and the strongest and fastest way to rewire them for neuroplasticity is with repetition. So if you go back and work through all of those layers and use some of those tools that I spoke about, from the silent self-talk, the self-speaking acceptance, the self-conversation, the self-writing, the recording self-talk, and then whether you believe it or not, and layer this with monitoring, editing, and listening, then what you can do is obviously create your own destiny. So to leave you, just wanted to read out, you are everything that is. Your thoughts, your life, your dreams come true. You are everything you choose to be. You are as ultimate as the endless universe. So I hope you're all doing well, being kind to yourself in this time, and feel free to comment if you'd love to see a clip on anything else, that be it any subject that you want. I'll keep putting these out weekly as I'm really enjoying it. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. Cheers.